Alright guys, Cam Sweet here from the Garage Connection. Been working on some projects lately. Figured I'd bring y'all in for the next one we're going to do. We've been having some problems around here with the fence I made. It's on concrete with these little Amazon anchors that go into the concrete, but the poles are very wobbly. So we're going to go ahead and build something to steady them up and not spend 50 bucks a piece on something from Home Depot or Lowe's. And it's going to give us an opportunity to also talk a little bit about this titanium welder that I bought from Harbor Freight, God, years ago. Must have 10 miles of wires gone through it, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to set it up for flux core welding today. We'll do some passes, and we'll take care of this fence problem. And so the issue we're having, like I said, is when I put this fence in, on the other side of this is our garden. So I couldn't dig down through the concrete to sink these posts. So they're just sitting on the concrete through these little anchors here. Now this side's not bad. Don't have much move, but you can see there's some wiggle there. But over here, oh boy, we got some problems. All right, we got a lot of leverage on that pole. Get out of the sun here. We got a lot of leverage on that pole, and she's just loosey-goosey all over the place. And this is no good because it's messing with my fence. It's messing with the gate. Right, it put so much force on the damn turnbuckle. It opened that hook up. It tore this one wide open, and this pole's gone to leaning. So we're gonna have to fix this. And what I come up with, I think, is going to be the best way to do it without spending $1 million on pre-made brackets. All right, so this is our welder here, Harbor Freight Special. Right, if you know me, I'm a big fan of Harbor Freight stuff. I think that for the normal guy doing the normal project that doesn't have 15 grand in tools, I think it's a great compromise between the quality of the Millers, the Lincolns, whatnot, and sort of staying away from the Amazon stuff. I don't know, I don't trust that too much, as I have a Amazon plasma cutter right behind me that I use all the time, but never mind. So this is a titanium unlimited 200. This is their multi-process welder, so she'll do flux core, MIG, TIG, scratch start only TIG, no foot pedal, and it'll do aluminum. I've done a little bit of aluminum welding on it to fix some stuff in the RV. I'm 50-50 on that because it's a DC only machine, and aluminum DC, kind of a dirty weld, but either way. So this is the machine right here. I got it on a Harbor Freight cart, and we're going to talk a little bit about really some of the features. I think dollar for dollar, this one's tough to beat. It really, really is hard to beat this one. Alright, so as we look closer, right, you pop the side cover. I have it set up right now for normal solid core MIG. But what I really like about this machine is, number one, it'll take a full-size spool. Some of these cheapo ones don't take the full-size spool. And then the second thing is it's got this chart up top here. Alright? Now it's kind of hard to see. I'll bring it in a little bit closer here. Alright, this chart it's got a side for 120. And it's got a side for 240, so it is a dual voltage machine. So if you don't have a high voltage plug in the garage, no big deal, right? And then over on this side, it's got the different things: mild steel, stainless steel, aluminum, and it's got the type of welding, right? So you got, flux core down here, solid wire up here, what type of shielding gases you're using, the size of your wire. This is pretty nice. This is a feature that you don't usually see on some of the entry-level machines. I think that's pretty nice. Obviously back here, right, we got the gas connection. I got a bottle of argon CO2 back there, but lately I found myself doing a lot more flux core. I'm really, really liking flux core lately. We close the cover here up on top, a little dirty, but we've got the settings for TIG. Okay, TIG over here, material thickness, and duty cycle chart. Right down the bottom, stick welding, those, Farmer John out in the field, right, going to bust out the stick welder. It gives you some rough settings for your electrode diameter and amps and so on. All right, this is a lot of features for a mid-level Harbor Freight machine. All right, so bear with me here. I'm going to switch the machine over from solid core to flux core. I'm going to put on some welding safety equipment, and we'll get rolling. All right, so we got our machine all set up here. Before I go ahead and turn it on, I'm gonna go over a couple things. We're welding 1/4 inch, right? 1/4 inch. And we're gonna be using 30 thousandths flux core wire. So we come over here, flux core, no shielding gas, DC electrode negative. All right, so the ground is gonna be on our positive terminal, and we're using 30 thousandths. So we're gonna follow this all the way over and see that we shouldn't be welding it, I guess, is what it's trying to tell us, right? We're going to go back to the highest amount that we're allowed to weld. 250 inches, 18 volts, and inductance of 5 to 10, all right? That's what it's telling us we can do. I'm a little more apt to stick to this 322 volts and just let it ride with 30 thousandths wire. I think it'll be okay, but we'll find ourselves a little compromise between the two. The other thing with these titanium machines, you got to switch the voltage back here, all right? It won't do it automatically like the Vulcans. You got to switch the voltage, and then you're going to turn the power on, the fan's going to start up, we're going to start laying some beads. All right, so getting into the project a little bit, what I got here is I picked up some steel from metal supermarkets. 1/4 inch thick, 4 inch wide steel, normal steel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a bracket that I can attach to the fence post on this side and drill into the concrete on this side. And what it's going to allow me to do is put a lot of force down or up using these concrete anchors and some 1/2 inch threaded rod. So that way I can drill a hole in here, I can put a nut above and below, and I can move the angle of this thing up and down depending on where I need to lean the fence post. Alright, so we've got our little makeshift welding table here. Got a little piece of sheet metal, and I got some heat barrier so I don't turn my plastic table into a mess. And I've lowered the garage door a little bit to keep the wind out. Not that we have too much gas to worry about, but we're going to go ahead and put some tacks on this and then finish welding up. We're going to take this one hole here, 2 holes here. We're going to lag this to the fence post and then adjust accordingly. All right, so we're going to finish welding this out, and we'll take it from there. All right, so I went and hit this with some water just to cool it down enough so that way we could all take a look at it. But you know, again, I'm a machinery technician. I'm not a welder, right? But as far as I'm concerned, as we said, it ain't going anywhere. All right. Definitely solid. We got a little bit of porosity here. That's probably my fault. But as far as the actual pass goes, and the metal being dirty, the welder really didn't give us any issues. You know, I also had it set up for the thinner 1/8 inch metal instead of this 1/4 inch stuff. But as you can see, the limitation here is not the welder. The limitation is I'm better at fixing diesels than I am at welding. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and settle in. I'm going to get the rest of these welded up. And then we'll come back to this when we start drilling holes and go ahead and attach it to the fence. Alright, so we're back at it here. Pretty good so far. Alright, this first one, I decided to weld it all the way through. And on the other ones, there's 3 of them over there you can't see. They're cooling on the floor. I decided to only weld the tips of it, partially because I don't want to burn through the whole spool of wire, but also, you know, this isn't a lifting eye on a bridge that's going to suspend, you know, a bucket full of guys working. I mean, we're talking about some garden fence stabilizers here. So anyways, what we're gonna do, we're gonna take this, use it as a template, and go ahead and drill a 1/2 inch hole through this plate. And I'm gonna use these Stinger bits by Spider. All right, I'm not sponsored by anybody, I'm just a normal guy. But let me tell you something, 30 bucks, worth every single penny. I used to buy the Harbor Freight drill bits. They're dull by the time you get them out of the package, all right? These things are worth every single penny. So we're gonna start off with a smaller bit, work our way up, and then eventually I'm gonna have to go to a step bit to get up to 1/2 inch, because I don't have any good 1/2 inches, because I burned them all out, because I'm too cheap to go buy nice ones. So we're gonna start with these. We're gonna roll on through, get all the holes drilled, and get this thing installed. All right, so here we are back at the fence. I got my bracket with the 2 holes for the lag screws, and I got the one here for the threaded rod that's going to go into the concrete. So what I've done is I've pre-drilled and lined up these, and then I put the bracket on the ground. I marked on that edge of it, and that way it's going to make up for this discrepancy. So we're going to go ahead and drill a 5/8 OD hole for this 1/2 inch threaded insert right here. The idea behind this is we're going to sink this down into the concrete. I'm going to take a punch, and there's a little like pill in here that expands the outside of it once it's down in a hole, so that it's not going to get pulled back up through. So we're going to go ahead and drill this hole right now. We're going to get this put in the hole, and then we're going to get this thing moving. Alright, so we got our insert here as I throw it. We got our insert right here. I'm going to go ahead and put that insert in there. We're going to tap it down until it's just about flush with the surface. Make sure the threads are still good. Yes, they are. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a punch, put it in the center of the insert, and we're going to go ahead and drive that piece down the inside to expand the insert. All right. Now that we've got that all set, what we're going to do is switch out of hammer mode and put in our adapter and go ahead and attach the bracket to the fence post. I'm very glad I started the holes ahead of time. So this is nice and tight. We're not too worried about the wood cracking over here. We're going to go ahead and put a couple screws in there to hold that down. But what we're going to do now is we're going to put the threaded rod down through this hole. We're going to screw it all the way down into there and get a good height of how much we want to cut it. And then we'll go ahead and cut it with the cutoff wheel, get this thing all set up, and see how solid it's going to turn out to be. All right, so what I did is I ran the threaded rod down inside the insert, and I went and put the 2 nuts on either side of it with the washers that are going to allow me to adjust the angle on this. Also, I opened up the hole inside the bracket to like 9/16 or 5/8 of an inch just to make up for any difference in the angle between this and the threaded rod as far as its angle it comes through it at. I didn't want it to get bound up through adjustment. So we got this. So what we're going to do, we're going to find a reasonable place that we think we can cut this at. I'm going to say maybe an inch or so above, and we'll go ahead and cut it off right there. Now if you notice, I put the nut on before I cut the rod off, all right? I don't know how many times you do it the other way around and you're always kicking yourself. It's like flaring a brake line. You put the perfect flare on it, then you try to put the flare nut on, it doesn't work too well. So we got this here, we got these bolts tightened up. So all I'm gonna do, I wanna bring this post back. So I'm gonna tighten down on this top nut, and it's gonna drive the post towards the rear. So I'll go ahead and do that now, and we'll see what it looks like. So we had a little bit of a setback, right, in any well-laid project. Well planned out, it goes off the rails at some point. So we had a materials failure in the concrete just because of the specific construction of my patio. All right, I got this additional piece that's here. Normally you wouldn't have this, you wouldn't have this problem. But at any rate, so this is separated. So what I did quickly is I took a piece of scrap steel that I had and I welded a nut onto the back of it, drilled 2 holes in it, and this is going to serve as like a strong back that I can put across the gap and thread into, and then use 2 Tapcon screws to hold it down to here. So we're spreading the load out between the different pieces of concrete. Now what I think I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna kind of stagger it a little bit so that it gets a little bit in here and a little bit over here. Try to get away from the crack as much as I can. And then we'll go ahead and get back on track with the project. So I'm gonna drill these holes, I'm gonna put these Tapcons in, and then we'll pick up from there. All right guys, so this is the finished product. All right, not perfect, but better than anything I could buy from the store. All right, so being that this is the first one, we had to work through some trials and tribulations. The biggest thing that I'm going to change on the next ones, these holes are going to be closer to the center, because as you can see, they are really close to the edge of that. And I don't like how it's splitting that. So I'm going to do that. Also, I think I'm going to piggyback on this idea with the rest of them. That way I just avoid this line altogether. I don't want to continue to have materials failures. Other than that, job well done. So we're gonna get the other 3 in, and hopefully this helped you out, inspire you to fix your fence, maybe not the right way, but definitely a strong way. And you know, let me know in the comments what you think, what you would have done differently.